All right, I'm going to show you some about this portable drill, or just a drill is what we call it. There's different kinds of drills, but this right here is your battery. It slides right in. To get it out, you push down. There's different ones. Some of them you push in there, whatnot. Obviously, the trigger is what you use to make the drill go. Now, it's variable speed. I'll say when you first start using a drill, one of the hardest things for a lot of students to get is using a drill slowly, learning that control. A lot of times when you're like putting in a screw, if you put it in, you just blast it real quick and you don't put enough force down, you'll strip the screw to where the bit won't fit in there anymore. And it's a big pain to get out. And so it's really important you learn how to control that speed. So the first time when you get a drill, I really recommend that you kind of play around, try to see with the different speed settings to get to where you're comfortable controlling it, okay? The next important thing to know is this directional button right here, okay? The down arrow is like, so let's say we wanna screw something in. I'm gonna put in a drill bit. This right here that I'm moving is the chuck. A chuck's anything that holds a round drill bit, or they don't always have to be round. Like I think this is 3/4 octagon, so it can hold different shapes. There's a bunch of tools that have chucks. Some, like older drills, or like my drill press, has a chuck key where you can't just tighten it by hand. You have to actually tighten it like this, and you can get it a lot tighter using one of those. But yeah, so the directional button, let's say here's one already in there, okay? If I have it going down, makes it go down. If I press this button right here the other way, I can bring it straight up. So that's how. One thing that a lot of people mess up when using a drill is they don't realize that whenever you're bringing it up or down, you want to keep a lot of pressure on it. A lot of people think just because you're taking the drill out, you don't have to push down, but you actually have to push down pretty hard. Otherwise, that's a common way to strip a screw. Okay, so let's go on. So yeah, the chuck opens and closes. It kind of clicks when it's tight. At least this one does. They don't all do that. Okay, the next one is the speed indicator. You have 1 and 2. This makes it go slower. First gear, second gear makes it go faster. Okay, now why would you want to change the speed? Well, let's look at this right here. We have 2 different kinds of drill bits, all right? Do you think you would need a faster speed for this one or a slower speed? Raise your hand for faster. Raise your hand for slower. Slower's right, okay? And here's why. If I spin these at the same speed, like the same rotation, is the end of this moving faster or the end of this moving faster? Second one, right? This is a larger diameter, right? It has to go around. It's going at the same speed, but it's going over a larger distance, right? So you want to slow that down, all right? So also, if you've ever, like different materials, like when you're going through wood, a lot of times the speed doesn't matter as much, but when you're drilling through things like metal, it really does make a difference. And so you want to drill like in a slower speed, even if you're using a smaller drill or a smaller drill bit. A smaller drill bit, you always want to put on a faster speed that you can. Some of these drills have a 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's our speed setting. Right here, this is our torque setting. So torque is how much force it allows out. So if I move this to 1, and I hold this right here, it'll spin, but you see how it kind of stops? Now if I move this here, now watch, spin it, and I try to stop, you can tell it's harder for me to stop that. If I move it up here, it's really hard to make that happen. Ouch. Careful. And if I move it to the drill indicator right here, it won't click, okay? So these are, why would you need to do that? Well, sometimes when you're like, especially drilling into wood, you will drill, that screw will drill right into the wood and make a big crater like this deep. And if you have it set to the right torque setting, when you go down, when it gets to the right depth, it'll just start clicking. So let's see if we can kind of demonstrate that real quick here. Okay, So I'm gonna put the torque setting at 5 right now, and we'll see how far this will go down. Okay, so right there, see how it kind of stops right there? Now I'm gonna move it to, let's say 11. That's probably gonna be about right. You see how that stops me from over tightening the screw? So it doesn't like, especially like I said, or stripping out, because sometimes if you spin a screw so hard, it can take, those threads can rip off the material, like the plastic, wood, metal, whatever, can rip it out to where that doesn't even have anything to hold on to, okay? So awesome tool here to learn about. Okay, let's talk about a couple other things. Let's say, you know, with a drill, you can drill right through metal. You know, a lot of people don't realize that. But let's say you do want to drill through metal. A lot of people will use one of these drill bits. And when I'm drilling through metal, what kind of speed should I have? Slower speed. Okay? And when you're putting in a drill bit, never put the threads inside the chuck. Okay? So that would be wrong. I always want the threads just outside of it. A lot of times they'll give you like a color of where you should stop it. But I'm going to stop this right here. But let's say I want to drill a hole through this piece right here. Okay? I'm going to put it, no, we'll just put it right here for now. Usually you want to clamp this down, but I want you to watch what happens. If I want to drill a hole there, you can kind of tell like this, the drill starts moving around. And when you're drilling through metal, you want to use what's called a center punch. So here's one, this one you need a hammer to hammer it in. But this makes like a little indent. So watch when I go like right here, if I wanted to drill the hole right there, I mark, I measure where I want it, and then I click this and it clicks, and you'll see there's a little spot right there. And that spot is just enough to hold that metal bit in where I want it to be. So now when I try to drill, it won't move around on the metal. So you can use a nail. There's a lot of other stuff. I mean, the center punches are nicer. They're kind of designed not to mess up the metal around it as much, but it's good. A lot of times you need a pre-drill hole. So like if you're screwing stuff into wood, you need to pre-drill the hole. You need to take your screw and you need to look at it, and there's the threads that go around it, right? That hold it in. That little core part that's inside the threads, that's about how wide you want your hole that you pre-drill. Okay, maybe even just a hair smaller. And so you pre-drill and then you do your screw. And I have a bunch of drills and stuff, so I recommend that you have two. I recommend you have one drill set up with the drill bit, one drill set up with your screw bit, and you just drill one, next one, put that one down, pick up the other one, put it in, okay? These are pretty cool right here. This is a gradual edge, and I have several different sizes of these, but this makes it really easy to drill through, especially stuff like metal that's hard. You can't just go straight to using like a spade bit like this. This is like going from a really small hole to a giant hole, and this will work a lot easier, this gradual change. Now this doesn't go as deep as this one. Another thing that happens with any drill bit, but especially these spade bits, is when you're drilling through something, you get what's called breakout, okay? And so the hole at the top will look really clean, and then when you push through, it actually makes the wood kind of broken and splintered out. It's not as clean of a hole. And there's a way that you can prevent that, and that's by getting a piece of scrap material and putting it under. And then that way you get the same thing. Also, when you get down to the end, you're using a big spade bit like this, and you're about to go through the other side of the material you're drilling through. A lot of times it will like turn your wrist pretty hard. Like you'll drill, and then right as you get out, it'll yank your wrist over like this. Okay? If you put the two pieces of wood together, you have like scrap material underneath, that won't happen. Okay? Other than that, let's talk about, basically it's the normal safety rules. If you're using a drill, you want to wear your safety glasses. Obviously in the shop, you don't want any jewelry hanging down, you probably put that up. You don't want any baggy clothes. If someone's talking to you, you don't want to be distracted. You want to think about what you're doing. Like if someone asks you a question, don't answer until you're done doing what you're doing. Make sure you select the correct speed for, like I said, one more review, a larger drill bit, you want to go slower, the 1. Smaller drill bit 2, metal, you want to go 1. Okay, make sure you have the right torque setting. All right, make sure you got the right direction. Okay, make sure you're thinking about what you're drilling into and what's underneath. when possible, always use a clamp or a vise to hold your pieces together, okay? Let me see if there's anything else here. You know, I think that pretty much wraps it up. You know, a drill is a really useful tool, but you'll be surprised at how many people are not good at using them. And it takes time. Like some of the most common issues that people have to practice with, and we'll practice these, is one, drilling a hole straight up and down. That's hard for people. Like drilling into this and going straight down and not at an angle. There's just so many people that they think they're right, but they're actually like this. You know what I mean? And getting a feel for that. There is also learning that control of putting that screw in. When you're drilling in a hole, if I drill down through an object and I come back up, do I need to switch my direction with the drill bit? No, I don't. Okay, so you can use, when you drill down through something like this, so as I drill through it, when I come back up, I keep it going the same way, okay? And I don't stop and then pull it out without it spinning. I always keep it spinning when I'm moving it in. If you move it in and out while it's going in, that's called reaming, and that will actually make your hole a little bit bigger. There's certain times you want that, sometimes you don't. So, like if I'm using like metal or something, sometimes I'll ream the hole a lot of times because that edge is really sharp, and that will help kind of smooth it all out and make sure like that hole is plenty wide enough, because the metal is not as forgiving. Like wood will expand a little bit, you can punch something through, right? But metal is not gonna expand as much. So, all right. Other than that, I think that's about it. So hopefully this video helps, and you'll be on your way to using a drill like a pro in no time.